Welcome to another great episode of Dre and Smiley, the Inner Circle Podcast.
Great. I'm so excited to have this guest on today. It's like, have you ever met someone and at the first time you say hello or you meet them, you just know this person is special and they have a certain passion and drive? Well,
For
that's
sure.
Monet Lewis. Monet and I used to work together at a company I was with before. And when I met her, I was like, this young lady is fascinating. So let me tell you about her. Monet was born in the U.S. Virgin Islands. She grew up very family oriented. There was a point in time when she had 13 people living in a three-bedroom house. In high school, she developed a sense of entrepreneurship from her dad. And her dad invested in her first business, which I didn't know, that she was selling jewelry to high school kids. She was earning their money from their allowances, and whatever they made, she would sell them their stuff. And from
Wow.
there, she went on and graduated from college, university. And then when I met her, she was telling me about all her real estate different things. So once again, from the moment of hello, her energy was just flowing out of her about her mind, her charisma, her entrepreneurial skills. So Monet, thank you for being on the podcast. And please tell us, tell us about you. How did you get that drive for entrepreneurship?
Well, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here with you guys. As I mentioned in my bio, my dad, he is an entrepreneur. Um, I just saw his freedom and his flexibility that he had while I was young, and I said, that's something that I want. And growing up we were very close knit with our family. It's 13 of us in one house. So that kind of gave me like a drive to say, I want to do better for my family that I have, and I want to be better. And it was just up from there.
So 13, were those siblings? Were those uncles, cousins, or just all brothers,
Uh,
sisters? And if they were brothers, sisters, are you the oldest or the baby?
so I am the oldest, and I am the only girl out of three boys.
Hmm.
But those were mostly aunts and cousins.
Hmm.
Yes.
And
Nice.
so from there, when you went tell us about your high school business and how did that work?
Okay, so in high school, I started Starr Fashion. Starr is my middle name that I got from my grandparents. My dad took me to Puerto Rico because I do have siblings that live in Puerto Rico. We went to the mall, I can't remember which one, and he just gave me money to shop in this jewelry store. They were selling jewelry for $5. So I came back with a suitcase full of jewelry and I took pictures of it. I advertised on Facebook and I would come to school with them in my school bag and I would sell to students because we were in 12th grade. So they're going out to parties, they're going out on the weekends, they have to look good.
Hmm. That's right.
So I, wherever they got money from, that was fine. Yes, I did take their money because I would convince them that they needed like this statement earring or this statement chain or something.
Yeah. Yeah. That's nice. So a couple things come to mind as I hear your bio, Monet. One is growing up in a house of 13 people. A buddy of mine when I was in college, he grew up in a house of 12. And we used to we worked together and lived in the same neighborhood. So I give him a ride home from work. After work, we get off around 5 o'clock. And he'd say, Dre, come on, we gotta go, man. We gotta go. I'm like, what's the hurry? I mean, give me just a second. And so we get in the car. He's like, Dre, you don't understand. If you're not there for dinner, you don't eat. No one's saving you a plate. no, no one's gonna save you a plate of food if you're not there. And so, because of that, he too was kind of had an entrepreneurship a gene in him. And my guess is that kind of helped drive your interest in entrepreneurship in addition to your father. So when you had that first taste of earning your own money, right? Having your business, your jewelry business, understanding that supply and demand, pricing it accordingly, that sort of thing. Where'd you go from there? Where'd you go from there? How did you scale that business, or if you scaled it?
Well, that business did not last long. Senior year was very busy for me. So I eventually let it die down, but in 2016, I graduated high school in 2014. In
Okay.
2016, I created Sophisticases VI. So it's a play on the word sophisticated, but it's cases because it was phone cases. I created
Ah,
that business and I had it for about 5 years. That's where
wow.
I learned all of the foundations and principles that I needed to be successful in business. I ran it like a legit business, and it was very popular for the time that I had it. I unfortunately let it die out when I started Tenem the Label, which is my name spelled backwards. I designed my own shoes, sandals for women, and now I have expanded into about 15 products in the fashion business. So we have sunglasses, clothing, shoes, bags, belts. We're gonna just go in, further and further along. But now that is my, as I would say, grown business.
Okay. Okay.
Um, and that's what I'm doing currently, in addition to
Okay.
real estate.
Okay. And so I'm gonna pass it to Smiley here in just a second, but the phone business, that sounds fascinating. Something that really interests both me and Smiley are, entrepreneurs. People are just kind of scrappy, making it happen. We had one guy, he had a garbage business where he grossed 90K. Keep me honest here, Smiley, if I get this wrong. 90K a month he grossed
Wow.
doing garbage. The phone case business, give me a little background on that. So in my mind, you sourced the phone cases,
Mm-hmm.
um, and somehow you had to make these cases stand out to your market, your customer market. Tell me a little bit about that. How did you source them? How did you make your phone cases stand out? And how did you find the customers for that?
I sourced the phone cases from China,
Okay.
um, through AliExpress. Of
Okay.
course, I would spend some time looking and talking to vendors regarding the quality of the items and how long it would take to get to me. I was in Tampa
Mm-hmm.
at that time. So I
Mm-hmm.
would buy bulk, and of course, I would take pictures, videos, do some promotions, and I would sell locally um, using my social media. So a
Okay.
lot of my customers were Virgin Islanders because
Okay.
I am known in the sense, so people, they followed me.
Okay.
Um, and then I went into customizing my own phone cases. So I would take a picture that you would send and I would print it on a phone case, and that kind of gave me a boost as well because people like customized items.
How did you print it? Did you have a 3D print? Yeah. How'd you do that?
I ordered the blanks, the sublimation blanks, so it would be a phone case with a metal plate, and I do have a sublimation printer still
Ah,
and a heat press that I would print and press.
That, that is so
Yeah.
sweet.
cool. So from the business side of it with the products, how does that evolve into real estate? Because when we met, you were talking about real estate. I didn't even know you had product side. So the first question is, did they both mature at the same rate? You were doing both simultaneously, or did you say, let me do the products and then you moved into real estate, or how does that work?
Well, it's actually a funny story. In 2018, when I actually started at the company that we met, I was planning for a baby. And when I started there, um, it felt like everyone was into real estate. They either owned their own home or they had properties. So it kind of gave me the drive to get into it. When we started discussing real estate, you told me about all these properties that you owned, and then you gave me all these books, and I was like, this might be something that I'm actually interested in. And because I was planning for a baby, I said this would be like a great opportunity to make extra income to take care of that baby. So it is funny. I do not think that if I worked at another company, I would have been as invested in real estate as I am now.
Monet, tell the truth. When you saw Smiley, you were like, "Oh, he's a baller. He's in real estate. I want to be a baller. Let me get in real estate
Yeah,
too." That's what it was. Tell the truth, Monet.
yes,
Tell the truth.
yes, yes. 'Cause we would have these conversations because I worked front desk. And, every time he passed the front desk, we would just have these conversations. And, he's telling me about the properties and his tenants and this and that. And I'm like, this sounds
Yeah,
so fun.
you're like, I can do this.
Do this, yeah. I
Yeah,
would like
that's
to own
awesome.
like 50 properties. Um, so that's how
That's
it
awesome.
actually started. I became a realtor that exact year,
Yeah.
a couple months
Oh
after I
wow.
started at that company. And with that, I bought my first home, and it just
Nice.
went from there, yeah.
Nice.
That is
Nice.
so cool. I did not know that, Dre. This is so, I'm sitting here
Yeah,
humbled.
yeah. I
Well,
still
Yeah.
have those books till this day. I still have the
Wow.
notebook that you gave me as well, and I do write in it.
Wow.
I
Wow.
do business planning. I have all these books, and I try to tell people about them so that they can start reading or if they want to get into it. But I think I'm 26 right now. I
Hmm.
think when they see me and they hear my story, it kind of motivates them to say, you know something, if she can do it, I can do it too.
Yeah.
So,
And your story, something that stands out, and I'll pass it right back to Smiley here, is you've heard this phrase, network equals net worth,
yeah, yeah.
right? This is a perfect example of that, right? You were in the right place at the right time where you came across someone else who was living, at least a portion of the type of life you want to live. Just through conversation, you got some gems from him, books, things like that. It's just the network. It's just the network. There's nothing you can't plan this, right? Being in
Hmm.
the right room at the right time makes all the difference in the world in terms of, how we move forward in the world. So that's just kind of one takeaway that stands out for me as you share that story.
Yes, it
no,
does.
well, that's amazing. So, still on this same theme of real estate, are you buying real estate in the Virgin Islands? Are you international with your real estate, or because you were in Tampa, you sold it in Tampa, but what's on the horizon, or what are you building your empire in the islands or in the states or both?
I would love for it to be both. Um, the market in the Virgin Islands is really different. The property prices are very expensive, I will say. And I do have a baby. I recently had a baby. So I've been,
Congratulations.
Congrats.
thank you. So I am trying to stay focused on Tenem, the label, let it expand and let it, become a little self-sufficient so that I can dive back into real estate. I did start when I moved back in 2020. I did start a food business, and in 2021, I was able to move into a bigger location. Unfortunately, we were unable to open. So currently, I'm in a lawsuit trying to get that squared away because I did have some issues with the landlord. But once that finishes, I believe I'll be able to dive back into real estate.
So you mentioned, so when I left the place we were working with I
Hmm.
moved into food. So I do food software now. So that's
Okay.
fascinating that you're in the food space. Are
Yeah.
they, if you could talk about it, is it proteins? Is it produce? Is it candies? Is it, what type of food? Is it retail, like with food trucks or what kind of food?
When I started, there was a need in the market for a late night food spot. In Tampa, you
Hmm.
can go down the street and you have options galore.
That's true.
In the islands, it's a little different. After a certain time, it's a little hard for you to find something to eat. So I opened, it was called Aces to Go. We were
Hmm.
open from Thursday to Saturday from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. And we had things that you would not normally find on island, like mashed potato bowls, loaded fries. Those were a hit, and a
Hmm.
few other items. It was doing really, really good. Sometimes it got really out of hand, and I felt like it was time to go into a bigger space. So I did find a space that had a bar, which would have been the perfect step in the right direction because who doesn't like to come in and get a beer after work or a happy hour or
Hmm.
something and eat? But unfortunately, like I mentioned, I did have some issues with the landlord and we were unable to open. That's how that
Look,
went.
okay, so that's it's amazing. You talked about jewelry, real estate, own products. It's almost like a Elon Musk sort of multiverse of businesses. You're
At
building an
26.
umbrella at
At
26. Yes.
26,
26.
yes.
So
It's
so
incredible.
if you were, let's say you met someone who's listening, someone's listening, what would the top two things you would tell them? Hey, I listened to your story, Monet. I want to do what you're doing. What's the top two pieces of advice you would tell them to say, okay, this is what you want to do? What's your two advice for someone who may want to follow your journey?
One of the best pieces of advice I got from my dad was to never let money or the lack of money stop you from doing what you would want to do. He told me that in high school, and I carry that with me still. So I would share that with anyone that is listening. Sometimes you want to do something or you want to invest in something and you don't have the money. If you believe in yourself enough, you can sell your idea to someone who believes in you and they will invest on your behalf. And that's how I
Mhm.
was able to fund like that restaurant. I am so confident in myself that when you listen to me speak, you are now confident in me and my abilities.
I
And
love
then
that.
what's the second piece of advice? You have to be confident in yourself and your ideas because if you're not, then no one will be confident in you.
Yeah. So, along the same vein, in terms of giving advice, I think about different businesses that you've started, different business people that have encountered obstacles, right, in their businesses. Nothing is smooth. There's always the unexpected. As
Hmm.
you think about all of your businesses that you've started or in the process of starting, the real estate, et cetera, what advice would you give to those listeners, those watching this on YouTube, and how do you overcome those obstacles? How do you prepare for the unexpected, um, and stay motivated?
The best way to overcome obstacles would be for you to be positive. The minute you start to fall into negative thinking or the negativity that you may be surrounded with, things are going to go worse for you. So I keep a positive head. Things can be falling apart. My tire can be flat if I'm like on my way to a pop up shop, for example. My tire can be flat. I would not curse. I would not cry. I would not beat myself up about it. I would just think, okay, well, maybe this is delaying me from something that I may encounter on the road. So I look for the positive in a situation. That's how I get
Mm,
through things. I'm never sulking. Yes, sometimes I may say, oh my goodness, I can't believe this happened. I can't get over it. But then in an hour, I'm over it because I'm thinking about, okay, well, maybe this is why this happened, or maybe this is a redirection for me. Um, so I just think really facing adversity, um, with that, you just be positive. Look for the positive in every situation.
yeah. And so just share that. Think about, have you seen Dave Chappelle's recent Netflix special,
I
The
started
Dreamer?
it, but I haven't finished.
So there's the title of it is Dreamer.
Mhm,
That's the title of it, and as part of the routine or you know the hour long episode, he talks about a situation where it was his first HBO special. He's upstairs above this club. He's doing his gig, and all of a sudden, and they're recording the HBO special. All of a sudden, the club starts playing music, and the agreement was that they wouldn't play music between this hour and that hour. And so he's furious, right? And this kind of speaks to uh, what I perceive as your way of moving forward. There's no obstacle too big or too small. Keep going forward, work through it, and make it happen. He goes downstairs to the production truck for HBO,
mhm.
and he's like, "What's going on? You guys are trying to ruin my career, this and that." He's like, "Hey, it's out of our hands. They played the music." So he goes to the club, back door, sees these two menacing guys, and he approaches them. He starts, "What are you guys doing? You're not supposed to be playing music, blah, 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 blah." So this another guy walks out and even more menacing and very calm and tells David to come inside, you know. And essentially what it amounts to is that David, he stood up for himself. He stood up for himself. He was, he had the vision in his mind of where he wanted to go. He ends that story with, "Where I am today, I dreamed I would be here." Right? It started back with a vision. So I think about you, 26 years old, and what you've accomplished. There's people who have died and, and haven't done what you've done. Forget about being 30, 40 years old. They've died and haven't done what you've done. Your drive, your vision. You're clearly a dreamer. Yes, that's a huge takeaway. Smiley.
So I'm going to follow up on what Dre said. You're 26. What is 46? What is 56? Do you look out that far? It's like some people. I was reading this one person from Japan. He did a 300-year plan. He knows he's not going to be here, but he just mapped out a plan for the family for the next 300 years. Now he's about 70 and they're enforcing it because he's here, but once he leaves, they probably won't. But I
Yeah.
said, well, I'm lucky to get a 3-week plan. If he got a
Yeah,
300-year
exactly.
plan. so so when you look at your entrepreneurial, your business and everything, how far out into the future do you plan, or how do you see yourself, or where do you see yourself at 36 and 46?
That's hard for me to answer because I think that when you plan too much, something always happens and it kind of takes you away from what you planned.
Right.
So I try to focus in on the present, so that I don't miss anything that's happening. And maybe I may plan for a week, but at 35, I don't know where I'll be. Um, I did not know that at 26, this is where I'll be. I
Mhm.
did not expect to be um on St. Croix because I am on St. Croix. I am now a Crucian. I was born on St. Thomas. But I am a Crucian. I never thought that this is where I would be. Um, so I don't know where I'll be at 35. I may have 5 kids. Um,
And
um,
seven businesses.
yeah,
Yeah,
and 7 businesses with 6 houses. I don't know. I don't know.
that is so fascinating. I was taking notes as you were speaking, and you said confidence in yourself, focus on the present. Those are t-shirt slogans. Can you
Yeah.
imagine? I was
For
like, those are
sure.
t-shirt slogans. So,
For
Yes.
oh,
sure.
that's amazing. I guess one other question on the business side. When you
Mhm.
look at it, what is say you look at the positive, but a lot of times people say, do you come up with the legal side, the LLC side, and then roll your company in? Do you have a corporation? How do you handle that? And is it different having because you're in three different islands and the states. Is it
Mhm.
different when you set up businesses in the Caribbean or the islands versus here, or because they're part of the U.S. Virgin Islands, is it the same, or what are some of
Mhm.
those things?
I first started my in 2019.
Hmm.
The process was super easy. Super easy. Down here it's a little different, but I do have an LLC registered, so it's registered in both Florida and the Virgin Islands. Um, I would say it's about the same. Um, and it's recognized on Dun and Bradstreet.
Hmm.
I have a Sam's number. It was recognized, the local address. So I would say it's about the same.
No, that is super cool because I think you're the first entrepreneur we have from the Caribbean, right, Trey? Or we had someone from
That's what,
London,
yeah. I
but I
can't
don't
think of
think we had
another.
anyone. Yeah,
No,
you're the first
not
one, so
originally
thank
from the
you.
Caribbean. Yeah,
Yeah, so
for
thank you
sure.
for that. Well,
Well,
Yeah,
awesome.
I hope I make the Caribbean proud, especially
I'm
the Virgin
sure.
Islanders.
I'm sure. So here's the part that's bittersweet, Monet. The final
Hmm.
four, which indicates we're coming to the end here,
Okay.
which is bittersweet because we're enjoying speaking with you, of course. So we have a question bank that we pull four questions from, and
Okay.
as I think back through this interview so far, the first question that comes to mind is, what's the worst advice that you've ever received?
The worst
Y-
advice, that is really hard. I do not take advice from a lot of people.
Okay,
Um,
well, let's flip it. What's the best advice you've ever received?
okay, the best advice goes back to what my dad told me about not letting money,
Mm,
the lack of money stop you from doing what you need to do or want to
that's
do.
great. That's great
Um,
advice.
that's advice that I'm gonna make sure I teach my kids.
Yeah, I like
You know
that.
what? That's another one. That's another t-shirt because that's a golden one. It's like
Yes.
literally go
Yeah.
after it. And I think one of our mutual friends had mentioned to me, it's like, or no, it was Quincy Jones, I think, said this. He's like, if you have talent, money will find you. So
Hmm.
if you have a great idea, money will find that idea. So that is so awesome. Well,
I
here's
agree.
one.
Hmm.
What is something that never fails to make you laugh?
Never fails to make me laugh. I make myself laugh. I make myself laugh. Past experiences definitely makes me laugh. When I
Awesome.
was,
Okay.
um, I graduated at 16. I
Wow.
felt like I did um everything under the sun. I played every sport. I did a pageant. Um, I did like tomboy activities, so I know how to climb a fence. Like I just randomly think about things that I've done over the years, and ooh, it makes me laugh.
You've done a lot. You've done a lot.
I've done a lot. Yeah, I had a
Yeah.
great
Yeah.
childhood.
Yeah. What's one thing that most people don't know about you that you wish they did?
A lot of people, I guess from my positive spirit, a lot of people assume that I have life amazing or perfect. I don't. I'm just a regular person. I go through the motions. I cry. I fail, but I don't let those failures or those downtimes define me or make me.
Mm,
So, every time I leave the house, I'm smiling, I'm having a good time. Because if I allow those downtimes to define me, then maybe I would have looked run down or unhappy. I would be miserable. But,
mm,
you know, I'm I am a human. I fail.
yeah.
I just don't dwell on those on those failures.
Love it.
Um, I think I am in an open book. So I feel
Okay.
like the public knows a lot about me already.
Yeah.
Locally in the Virgin Islands. For all the listeners on the podcast, they can follow me on social media and they will get a good idea of who I am. And they'll be like, she is so transparent.
Yeah.
I speak a lot.
One
That
one thing
is
I want to say too is you mentioned your clothing brand. For those that are interested in learning
Mhm.
more about it, do you have a website or Instagram page you want to share on here? And we'll also put this on the show notes for the episode.
Yes. So my website is www. So it's my
Okay.
first name backwards and then TL as in the label.
And what are the
And
top three
Instagram.
items? What are the top three items that they definitely want to come to you for to purchase?
Definitely, they need to check out my sandals, my signature sandals. They are genuine leather. They're called the Hermine sandals. It's named after my grandmother who passed away. Um, it's a nice design and it's super comfortable. So for those who they're walking, they have back problems, feet problems, those are good. I'm not advertising it as orthopedic sandals, but because they are cushioned, it's super comfortable for those who are going to be walking or standing for a long period of time. They come in 4 colors currently, and we are going to be dropping a few more colors this year. So definitely that. I do have a signature handbag. It's called a Millie handbag, named after my mom. Um, It's a cute compact bag. It's in black and brown. You can fit a pair of size 10 sandals in there,
Oh,
but it's not a
yeah.
huge bag, so you can go with it anywhere. And it's versatile, so it has a long strap and a short strap, perfect for any occasion. And then the last, we are currently sold out of the tote bags. I recently traveled with mine with all my baby items, and it fit everything perfectly with all of my personal effects as well. Perfect for traveling. So it's like a good travel bag for the ladies, of course.
okay. So you have
Awesome.
your sandals,
Mm-hmm.
comfortable, leather, well made, the handbag, and
Yes.
those are just the ideal bag for lots of different things. Big enough to fit a size 10 sandal, and then you have the
Yes.
tote bag, which is
Yes.
kind of an all-purpose bag. A mother, for example, could use it for their as kind of a diaper bag if they wanted to.
Yes. And it's
All
stylish.
right,
It's brown with a green satin interior. Oh, it's beautiful. But we are sold out. But, if I
it's
bring
coming
them
back,
back.
right? Am I right? It's
Yes.
coming back.
Yes.
Okay, 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 okay.
That's so cool. So, as the last final four question,
Mm-hmm.
who's the person you would like to trade places with for a day?
Mm.
Anyone alive or dead?
Um, I think I would like to trade places with Kylie Jenner.
Oh,
Mm-hmm. Wow.
She is the same age as I am, and she is a millionaire. Now, I know a part of her success comes from who she is, her family. But if you take a look into her life, she has her own business. She has Kylie Cosmetics. She has her 2 kids. She has a nice family. She's very low key, as we like to say. Um, but something about her, I think she is one of the only celebrity that I look up to, and it's because she reminds me of myself. So I
Awesome.
would say her.
Monet, this
love
has
it.
been fascinating. I was
Yeah, it
so
has.
when I saw you on LinkedIn and then I sent you the invitation,
Hmm.
I was like, Dre, she signed up. I was so happy. Just
Yes.
appreciate you taking time to be on the podcast.
Having me. I do have some people from the VI that is looking forward for this episode. I put them on to the podcast, so you may have some new fans. Um I was very excited when you mentioned it, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, they want me on their podcast." But I I have to accept that I am an exceptional young person, young woman. Um I am so humble with it. I don't brag. I don't usually post like on social media about my accomplishments. unless it's like business related, maybe.
Mhm.
So there are people on my social media that did not know I purchased my first home at age 20.
Wow.
Mhm.
And I keep saying my first because I did purchase again. But it's just like
You're
Yeah.
doing it. That's amazing. You're just doing it. That is so cool and so inspiring, inspirational.
thank
Yeah.
you.
That's exactly,
Mm.
you took the words right out of my mouth, Smiley. Something that I think a lot of people will get from this, those that are your age, even younger perhaps. Heck, people that are older will get inspired.
Mhm.
Those that, feel like they want to do something more, do something different. Hearing your story, it's fascinating. 26 years old. I can't even tell you what I was doing at 26. It wasn't this.
Yes.
It wasn't this. So, so we definitely appreciate you coming in and sharing your story. And I hope you're being on.
Thank you. I just actually thought about the worst piece of advice.
Oh, let
Okay.
me get it. Let me get it. What is it? What is it?
The worst piece of advice I think I got was that you needed to go to college to be successful.
Ah,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I am not against college. I do have my bachelor's degree and I did start my master's degree as well. I am about 90% completed with my master's degree because I am a human resources professional by trade. Um, but I think that was the worst piece of advice because the student loan debt that
Mhm.
is plaguing the United States right now, if you go to a trade school, you can be just as successful. And then for, those that want to enter the workforce, the right person at the right time that you meet can get you indoors that degrees probably can't.
I
So
mm,
agree.
makes sense. Makes sense.
I think that was the worst piece of
Okay,
advice.
love it. Love it. That's a good one. That's a good one to end on. Figure out what's right for you and follow
Yes.
that path. Right.
Yes.
Figure what's right for you and follow that path. And there's no one right way to achieve success, and you definitely exemplified that. So again, thanks for being on.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right.